Eileo guys, and welcome back. Hopefully everyone's doing well, and in today's video we're covering the Nat 5 version of Candling. In the past we've had Midsummer Miho, Beach Muse Saren, we had Kiki who was not very good whatsoever, and now we have Candling. So let's go ahead and start off here with the Fire one. So the Fire Nat 5 version of Candling is an attacker type coming in with 29k HP, 3.7k attack, and then 2.5k defense. His stat distribution is pretty standard across the board. Attack and HP are decent, and defense is somewhat standard as stated previously here. But let's take a look at the skills because that's the most important part. You can have great stats, but if your skills are doo-doo, well, no one wants to use you. But right before we dive into the skills here, I do want to cover his variant leader skill, which is Deathblow. Now, this isn't like a super duper top tier skill, but it's highly recommended depending on what application you may or may not use this Ashramon in. So if you get a variant version of whatever types that I review here and you want to use them, hey, more power to you, because 50 to 55% isn't something that I've seen often. It's mainly 45 to 50% if I'm remembering correctly here. But let's take a look at his skills. So his 3-star skill is Morale Boost, and it has a 100% chance to restore 15% of allies' SP when attacking. So he's the SP battery, very similar to the new players out there like Dark Mona or Water Mona or Fire GACHA, which I believe if you start it sometime this year in terms of MSL, everyone gets a Fire GACHA for free. If you've played the game before, if you're returning, same thing. If not, if you've been playing for a minute here, you already have Fire GACHA, he's going to do the same job as Fire GACHA does. Moving on to the 5-star skill though, the Fire version of Candling does have Hunter, and I will indicate here that according to this text, allegedly, it's AoE. So that's very important to know. But he is coming in with a 60% Hunter. This is not normal because Hunter's usually 50% with skill books, so I'm curious as to why the devs chose 60%. Either way though, he's classified as a wave clearer, great for clearing out obviously story stages so you can get some more sigils and stuff of that nature to run the dragon dungeons during the weekends. Also farming golems, B8, heck, you could even bring him into B10, B11, all that good stuff. Or Tower of Chaos too, throw him on a siphon set and let him have at it. But as stated before, if you have mons like Fire GACHA already, this mon isn't cyclic, just like Fire GACHA is, where she comes around X amount of times during the year. This mon has a Primal Festival. Who knows when we're going to see him again, and it's right after Christmas too, and Black Friday. So if you're strapped for cash, maybe watch the end of the video before you decide about spending. But yeah, classic wave clearer. In regards to the skill books here, Morale Boost does get a 20% damage boost, and it goes up to 20% for all allies. Not bad, but these are Nat 5 books. And then Hunter receives a 20% damage boost too. So decent wave clearer. It's just that he is a great substitute for something that already exists. He doesn't really pave his own way. So if you want to get him and maybe flex, why not? Do you know, have you been playing the game long enough and you're like, I'm tired of seeing Fire GACHA, I want Fire Candling? Go for it. But as a new player, I can't really recommend it because you probably don't even have the gems to get him to Evo 3 in the first place. And the game literally gives you a free wave clear. 2 free wave clears if I'm being honest. Moving on to the water version of Candling, who's a Nat 5 of course. He's also an attacker type coming in with nearly 30k HP, 3.9k attack, and then 2.7k defense. His stats are slightly better than the fire ones, even though they're both attackers and Nat 5s. Make it make sense. Let's take a look at these skills though. So 3-star skill is going to be Lethal Strike. This is great for Apophis or the Void Dungeon or any application where a monster has a lot of defense. You could possibly bring it into one of the Colossi too. Can't remember which one to help speed up that process, especially if that Deathblow leads. So some application definitely exists for it. And then also the Dimensional Golems, whoever does those, I believe one of them has a decent amount of defense, so you could possibly bring him into there. Possibly. 5-star skill is going to be attack up for the entire squad. Not the entire squad, but for that row, and that's 40% for 2 turns. So keep in mind, he has an AoE on that 5-star skill. He's not healing. So it's Lethal Strike, then he's going to do an AoE and apply attack up. So I think Yi and Noah is the only Nat 5 Ashramon with double Lethal Strike, but we do have access to Enkidu and Glenda, and there's also Mira, who I believe is a Nat 3. So he may be like an upgrade to Mira. But either way, I mean, if you don't have Enkidu, especially with his ultimate evolution, this is always a good option. Glinda. Let me go over here on Discord if you guys haven't joined in already and pull up the MSL bot here. Glinda has Lethal Strike and Predator, so you may get some more use out of this one instead with Attack Up on the 5-star skill versus Predator, especially after Apophis has gone up in a couple of levels. So he does have his uses, especially if you're missing Enkidu, which Water Enkidu, his skill kit is Lethal Strike and Hunter. Yeah. So he's basically just a replacement for those, because I don't know what Hunter and Predator is going to do on Apophis, especially if he's past like level 0, FYI. So decent substitute or decent slot holder, especially if you're looking for something better in the future here. Skillbook wise though, Lethal Strike does receive a 25% damage boost. Attack Up receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to 3 turns for 50%. Not bad, but Nat 5 skillbooks. Maybe hold off, but so far fire and water canceling honestly just isn't bad. Nothing extravagant, but very, very safe choices if you don't have those specific Astromon. Moving down the list though, we do have the wood version of the Nat 5 canceling here, who's surprisingly a balanced type, coming in with 32k HP, 3.4k attack, and then 2.8k defense. Could be closer to 3 in my opinion for the defense, but I just review the monsters in the game here. So let's go and take a look at these skills first. So for his 3-star skill, 80% chance to reduce the enemy's attack power by 50% for 3 turns. Not bad for debuffing. Then the 5-star skill is going to be Courageous Strike. 3.4k attack stat, okay. He's not light or dark, so no innate higher crit rate or crit damage. And arguably the most useful skill, which is Courageous Strike, is on the 5-star skill. I can go and tell you guys right now, this ain't it. Chief called, he said this right here is doo-doo. Absolute caca. Because, okay, let me kind of describe it for you. 3-star skill, if he gets no SP, there's a chance he could go an entire fight against a Titan and maybe use his 5-star weaken, since it's an AoE type skill on Water Titan. 1 time, maybe 2 times, the entire fight. Because he's just spamming attack down. But attack down has been applied and is refreshing every single turn, especially if you have defense down or attack downs or mons with weaken already. What is he adding to the table? Nothing. I wouldn't even recommend him as, I don't know, if you had no Courageous Strikers, because what is the chances of that 5-star skill going off and it being reliable? That skill set, absolute doo-doo. But skillbook wise, attack down gets a 15% damage boost and goes up to 90% for 3 turns. Still not enough. Courageous Strike is 25%. I kind of glossed over this one because Courageous Strike on your 5 stars, never recommend it. There's some mons that use it and could get away with it, like the I believe it's Dark Amayoji maybe, or Dark Jormungandr. Maybe I'm flipping their skills here, but in this case I wouldn't even bother. Like, especially for Wood Astromon, go ahead and pick up Wood Penolo instead and move on with your life. Or, spoiler alert, Wood Merlin. Maybe if they took Wood Merlin and was like, hey, we'll give him Diplo lead, we're going to go and give him double Courageous Strike. Now we're talking. But attack down Courageous Strike, gag me with a machete. Let's keep it moving though. We're getting to the spicy stuff, people, the light and dark. So the light Nat 5 version of Canceling is also an attacker type, because all the other ones except for the wood one has been, and he's coming in with 28k HP, 4k attack, and then 2.7k defense. Little glassy, but I see what they did there. A little bit more attack, which is always nice, and sacrifice for the HP and defense, but overall decent stat distribution, and of course he's great against Dark Astromon. But let's take a look at these skills here. So 3-star skill is going to be SP Siphon, 30%. This is great for obviously mitigating or preventing the opposing team or opposing boss, like Balzac for example, from getting its skill off, or the adds that fight with him, because it prevents them from basically taking that skill and have it go off. If your SP bar doesn't hit 100%, that's always great, which is good for stalling or preventing damage to your squad, especially if you're playing manually here. Then for his 5-star skill, he has Elemental Edge, increases elemental damage by 30% and attacks against any enemies that are treated as the enemy's elemental weakness. So if you're new to the game, this essentially means that he's going to get the elemental advantage regardless of what Astromon that he fights. Or however shall I indicate, as I just stated before, he's light, meaning his most applicable usage is against Dark Mons, so this 5-star skill does nothing. Sure, you could fight RGB, but you have a light Astramon. If you want to fight RGB and you had a choice between light and dark, just go higher, just go with dark because dark has a higher crit damage. FYI. So this right here is also a bust, man. For me, I don't really see much usage. SP Siphon's one thing, but there's a lot of Astramon out nowadays with SP Siphon. Even if you want to use Dark Merlin from back in the day, I still use him occasionally on my squad just because SP Siphon's useful. There's Dark Yuki, there's easier ways to get access to mons with SP Siphon, but with better or more advantageous skills than Elemental Edge. Because it's like he wants to be a kind of pseudo control or crowd control mon, but also wave clearer. Doesn't really work out. There's not really a good compromise there. So if you pull him, I guess good luck. In a PvP situation, maybe Elemental Edge is decent, but I would rather hit like a butt cheek on a stick than really worry about Elemental Edge, because up there at the top, there may be some people rocking RGB, but chances are they may have light and dark mixed in together, or they may have a full dark squad, and wow, Elemental Edge does nothing for you because that's already their weakness. Anyways though, SP Siphon does get a 20% damage boost and it goes up to 40%. In my opinion, 30% is fine, not like you have a choice for the books. Elemental Edge does receive a whopping, what is that, 15, 25, 40% damage boost? Still, it's Elemental Edge. Is 40% damage boost going to be enough to kind of tip the scale to make that useful? One could argue yes, but do you have 4 Nat 5 books dedicated to Candling laying around and pray that you don't get it into SP Siphon? There's too much investment involved to make this Astramon good when he's a Nat 5 and right now he's Primo exclusive, just in my opinion. So he's going to be a no for me, dog. If I pulled him from doing the Primo Festival, which I'm not going to be doing, at least at this point in time until I see the Dark one, I'd probably be kind of mad, to be honest, but it's just one man's opinion. Alright, and last here, and hopefully not least, we do have the Dark Nat 5 version of Candling, who is also an attacker type. I don't know why they didn't make the Wood one attacker, because he's the only balanced one. Who knows? But anyways, the Dark version is coming in with 27k HP, 3.9k attack, and then 2.7k defense. So very similar stat distribution to the Light one. He just has a higher innate crit damage, which is always important for some juicy damage. Taking a look at his skills though, 3-star skills, Lethal Strike. I covered that previously. Apophis or the Void Dungeon. And then for his 5-star skill, it's Immunity, which is great because immunity goes up for 3 turns and you cannot be negatively affected. Well, your squad can't be. But it also goes to argue here. I mean, I don't see that too much as a bad thing. This is a good compromise in between possible damage and then, on top of that damage, he does bring a little bit to the squad in terms of support and preventing them from getting debuffed if he survives. Real application here is going to be Apophis is the first thing that comes to mind, and of course the Void Dungeon. Outside of that, in a PvP scenario, I'm not sure if I would risk it with immunity, just because he's naturally frail. Like his HP pool is 27k, so it's already on the lower end versus like a tank mon with immunity or a defender here. But it's really up to you. At this point in time, I don't think it's a bad pull whatsoever. It's just that in regards to Lethal Strike here, in regards to Lethal Strike, Progna has Lethal Strike on both of his skills. Midsummer Miho has Lethal Strike on her passive, but I believe she has attack up on her 5-star skill. So similar boat to Midsummer Miho, but he doesn't really, I guess, up the damage of the squad. He kind of prevents debuffs from going on the squad. So not bad. I wouldn't say like it's a must-have, but I guess if I pulled him over the Light one, I wouldn't be too mad about that. But anyways, skill book wise, Lethal Strike does get a 25% damage boost, and then immunity receives a, what is that? I'm over here doing simple math. 25% up for the recovery up. So does that actually heal the squad? It says restore all allies HP. This one actually heals. Let me go over here to the Wood one. Nope. That is the only one that heals. Take that back. He just got a little bit more interesting. I thought he wouldn't heal, but this one actually heals. So he's like an attacker healer, kind of. Not necessarily like a dedicated healer, but he's an attacker and he can also restore stuff to the squad. So that does open up some capabilities, especially with that death blow lead here. So actually I'm a little bit intrigued. And this would definitely be helpful for people who haven't cleared out like floor 6 of the Void Dungeon, which, spoiler alert, I haven't at this point in time. I should try it now that I have Okeanos, but I've just been a filthy casual and staying at stage 5 here. But yeah, it looks like the Dark One may actually be the play of the game. But overall, I think the candlings are pretty much safe other than the wood one here. And right before I end it, let's go ahead and make a little tier list of what you guys should or shouldn't go for. Keep in mind, this is 100% good advice. However, I'm not licensed. All right, you guys. So to wrap this up here, I'm going to do my little tier list. Keep in mind, this is 100% advice. I'm just a man on the internet, so take it with whatever grain of salt that you will here. But we're going to start off with the fire one and work our way all the way to the dark one, as I did with the review process here. So the fire one, at least in my opinion, is going to be B tier. And it's not because his stats are bad. It's not because his variant skill is bad. It's not because his skills are bad. It's just that we already have pre-existing wave clears who require a lot less investment. We have wave clears that are giving out for free. We have wave clears that are cyclic, aka GACHA, or even Sarah, Tina, whatever Ashermon. If you play the game long enough throughout the year, you'll get access to plenty of wave clears, which makes this exclusive one not really appealing. So he gets B tier from me. In regards to the water one, I would say the water one's probably going to be A tier for me, just because if I'm remembering correctly here, let me look up Mirror real quick. Water Mirror has Lethal Strike and Hunter. I thought it was Lethal Strike and Attack Up. That's Dark Mirror with Attack Up on the active skill. So decent upgrade if you need a replacement for Mirror for sure. There's also Water and Kiddu, who has Lethal Strike and Hunter, and then Glenda, I believe, had Predator, so decent upgrade from those Ashermon too, especially considering that Deplo lead and that attack up kind of synergizes more with the entire squad. Keep in mind though, he doesn't heal, so, you know, factor that in too. It's only the Dark one that heals, so I would definitely say the Water one, at least in my opinion, is going to be top of the A tier at this point in time. Wood one. Wood one's D, dude. C, D, whatever's the lowest on my list right here. Wood one, absolute garbage. There's really nothing else to say about him. And then the light one, SP Siphon and Elemental Edge. With him fully booked up, I would give him still maybe bottom of the A tier. Just because the Deplo lead is helpful, so is SP Siphon. It's just that Elemental Edge kind of erodes his whole usage against Dark Mons because he's already strong against Dark Mons. But 40%, I believe it was 40%, that's a pretty big chunk, but with the investment needed, him fully booked up is just bottom of the A tier, at least in my opinion. Could be wrong, it's just so much investment and he's only going to be A. Is it really worth the squeeze? That's for you to decide. Then last but not least, spoiler alert here, I would say the Dark One is going to be S tier. He does have the ability to heal the squad, and immunity is nice to have, especially in a longer fight, or perhaps in a situation where you have mons that do all types of debuffs to you, like the ads against Balzac. Lethal Strike's always great to have, and with a nearly 4k attack stat, that means he should be reliable, and you have control over his damage too, because if you play manually, you don't have to use his active skill every single time. You can choose when to use that if you play with him manually for the Void Dungeon. Apophis, you're on your own here, but with that Deathblow lead, Lethal Strike for damage, and then immunity, which also, you know, cleanses the party of debuffs and also heals them. Hopefully a okay amount, because his recovery stat is 3.1k. I do believe he deserves S tier. But with that being said here, that's pretty much it for this review, you guys. Am I personally going for this Primal Festival? No. I think the Dark One's cool, but I don't think it's personally going to be a game changer for me. I know a lot of people have already been bled dry because Christmas is literally right around the corner. We've had Black Friday. We've had a good haul or a good run with the game. So feel free to not spend your money. Like, don't feel like you have to get this Ashermon at this point in time. I'm sure he'll be back. He's a nice addition, but most of his stuff is just substitutes for something that exists already with slight tweaks. But yeah, that's about it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one. Peace out.